Travelers to cut TSA lines is now available at more U.S. airports. Clear Reserve is available at 13 North American airports, including Orlando, Phoenix, and the newly added Denver and Minneapolis. Unlike Clear Plus, Reserve is free and does not include fingerprints or eye scans. Ahead of your next trip, use Clear's website to choose which time you'd like to pass through security. Microsoft will pay a $20 million fine to settle charges that it illegally collected and retained data from children who signed up to use its Xbox video game console. The FTC says Microsoft gathered data without notifying parents and failed to delete certain accounts. Microsoft says additional steps will be taken to improve its age verification systems. A federal court must approve the settlement. Starbucks is rolling out its controversial olive oil coffee to more U.S. cities. The so-called oleato drinks debuted in the U.S. in March to mixed reviews. Now they're coming to Starbucks fans in Austin, Chicago, Boston, Dallas, and Miami. Each drink is prepared with a 120-calorie spoonful of olive oil.
All right, Southwest Weather. I'm Fox 4 meteorologist Trent Eric. This afternoon, we're going to see our rain chance start roughly around 3-4 o'clock in the southern parts of Collier. As these storms start to lift to the north, that's when we expect the potential of some strong, if not an isolated, severe thunderstorm. And then tomorrow, more changes come in, and that's going to be a round of weather early. Our showers and thunderstorms tomorrow will start to develop around 9-10 o'clock and run through noontime before our skies begin to clear out and we dry out. Now, this afternoon, we'll reach 91. Showers and thunderstorms develop. We're looking at a 60% chance of wet weather. And then for tonight, showers and storms come to an end with lows in the 70s. Over the next 7 days, we will eventually get back to our typical afternoon showers and storms, but not before the changes. So the big takeaway, late today, earlier tomorrow, and the showers and thunderstorms on Thursday should head over to the other coast rather early, but we'll be rocking and rolling again with scattered showers and storms right here in Southwest Florida by the time we get towards the weekend and early next week.
Nearly 90% of Americans say they save money on a regular basis. NerdWallet reports the monthly average is $985. But less than half of Americans say they would be able to cover a $1,000 emergency expense. There are a few things causing this disconnect. Even though the average monthly savings is close to $1,000, half of Americans report saving $250 or less.
But beyond that, a lot of folks also save money and set things aside, but then they use that money for regular expenses. So just monthly expenses, they say that they're saving it, and they are, but then they tap into it like pretty frequently and like pretty soon after they've saved it. Which means that they don't have a lot rolling over from month to month that actually is able to be used for an emergency.
She says there are a few approaches to building an emergency fund depending on your situation. One is creating a sub-account that you don't touch. Another is setting smaller, more achievable goals for an emergency fund.
You can start with $500, and that should really be able to cover some of the smaller emergencies that might come up in life. Maybe you have to take an emergency vet appointment for your animal, or maybe you pop a tire while you're driving. That should be able to cover a replacement tire. Or if you have to travel last minute, maybe a family member falls ill.
She says you can also maximize your savings by using a high-yield savings account. It could mean earning tens of dollars in interest every month versus $1 or $2.
Many materials end up in landfills across this country, but certain things like used wood can actually have a second life. We're teaching you how biochar is becoming more and more popular and why some experts say we need it on a larger scale. Retrieved as trash and unloaded as treasure, piles of dead wood are dropped off at this facility in Berthoud, Colorado, north of Denver, for an opportunity at a second life.
What biochar now does is we take non-merchantable waste wood and other organic matter and we convert it through a chemical reaction called pyrolysis into a pure carbon.
James Gaspard is the CEO of Biochar Now.
We're taking a product that has no other market. We're creating a market for it. So at this site we take clean wood, non-merchantable clean wood, which would be like pallets and crates, dead trees and forest fire debris. We take in wood that no one else can use.
But the biochar process can be used with materials beyond that list.
At other facilities, we're approved to take in treated woods. We have a facility that's taken in major railroads cross ties and we convert it into the same carbon. We can take in telephone.
Carries unanimously.
A unanimous vote to potentially promote Deputy County Manager Dave Harner to County Manager. Commissioner Chair Brian Hammond says the choice came down to Harner's experience.
Dave was there for every single decision along the way throughout the hurricane and has been
The city of Cape Coral is trying to bring in more customers to certain shops by offering a new incentive for businesses. It's a grant program launched today to reimburse new and established businesses for certain costs like site development or renovations.
Yeah, this could be big for some businesses. Fox 4's Colton Chavez found out just how much these businesses could save and why the city right now is just focusing on 3 square miles of South Cape for now.
I support anything that will enhance walk-in traffic, walking business.
In the city of CC, business owners like Ralph Sangiovanni on Cape Coral Parkway say the city's new B2B grant could help create more long-term businesses in South Cape.
We've always been seeing a lot of business come in, and then shortly thereafter they end up in leaving.
It's called the Breaking Barriers to Business Grant, which is funded by the City of Cape Coral's Community Redevelopment Agency, or CRA. The agency says $250,000 is available for reimbursement for both new and existing businesses, which will cover up to 20% of costs for expenses like site development, construction, and renovations. Qualified businesses must be located inside the CRA's roughly 3 square mile district, seen here in this map of South Cape Coral. Business owners like Ralph Sangiovanni of Razzle Dazzle Boutique say the grant will help South Cape turn into what the city has already branded as the heart of Cape Coral.
I think that it's a great thing, and quite honestly, promoting the downtown area. I mean, after all, this was Cape Coral, the downtown was it.
And just like the heart that beats inside each of our chests, pumping blood and life throughout our bodies, the city of Cape Coral hopes to do the same thing with this grant program. And they say if it pumps enough life into the heart of Cape Coral, well, then they want to roll it out citywide. The CRA says businesses will need to make a minimum investment of $25,000 to qualify. Bob Lanzieri, owner of John Michael's Diamond and Jewelry Studio, says the program could boost foot traffic, but questions if South Cape's limited parking lots can handle the rise in visitors.
You can do all this stuff and you can bring all the new traffic down. What do you do with the people? What do you do with the cars?
So while Bob says added infrastructure will need to come with the addition of new businesses, he hopes most of the grant money will go to improving businesses that already call the South Cape home.
Maybe this will help the facelift on the shopping center, including ours. Needs a facelift. So maybe that'll help.
In South Cape Coral, Colton Chavez, Fox 4.
As you enjoy some of the best video we have here in our Fox 4 archive, Sanibel also marking another milestone 8 months after Ian. Lighthouse Beach Park will reopen next week, Friday the 16th. Announced during an event to celebrate the reopening of the Sanibel Visitors Center. The hurricane, though, the force of it broke away one of the lighthouse legs, which was replaced with a temporary wooden support. Fox 4 was there when the city officially relit the historic lighthouse, though, in February. Also reopening today, La Ola restaurant at its new location at Bell Tower Shops, while La Ola still has its spot at Fort Myers Beach that everybody knows so well. Owner Tom Houghton said he wanted a safety net with a bricks and mortar location. The Bell Tower Shops locations open tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then on Thursday, it will do the normal operating hours, which is 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Well, shifting now to weather. Today on my dinner break, walking the puppy, it was sunny outside, and then all of a sudden, I felt some rain, but sunny rain. Yeah. So one of those sun showers popped up out of nowhere, but it's that time of year.
Did you have to shake it off, though? You know,
yeah,
it is.
I was like, wait, we got to go inside pretty quickly.
One part of the neighborhood could be completely inundated,
exactly
meanwhile the other half not receiving a drop.
Yep.
So that is exactly the nature of the storms this time of year. Thankfully, though, things nice and quiet on our radar here across Southwest Florida after many of us picked up a little bit of something in the rain gauge, especially across Collier into Lee, Hendry, and Glades. Parts of Charlotte County, though, it was a bit more sporadic in that direction. Let's take a live look now from outside of Naples from the Bayfront Inn, where conditions are nice and quiet after seeing some thunderstorms earlier this afternoon. But overall conditions are quiet currently in Collier County. We are still watching, though, a couple of lingering rain showers here on the far northern side of the Cape Hayes Peninsula, stretching up toward Inglewood. So basically back toward Manasota Key and toward the Inglewood area right there in far southern Sarasota County. Thankfully, though, no lightning strikes to report. And if you do see any lightning, that is lightning from well offshore. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies are expected. Temperatures gradually dropping from the mid-70s into the lower 70s by around daybreak. And another perspective at a clearing sky here in Cape Coral from atop the Fox 4 studios. Dew point, the measure of moisture in the air, bit stickier. Now it's 71. That wind currently out of the southeast around 6 miles per hour. So Naples today, we ranged from 73 in the morning up to 89 in the afternoon. Spot on for this time of year. And that was really the case at our main reporting sites. Fort Myers and Punta Gorda also hit highs of 89 degrees. Check it out, 89 across the board, meaning all of those records stayed in safe territory. Let's look ahead now to tomorrow. Those rain chances, of course, for some, it's the official start of summer. Now that school is out, especially for those Lee County kiddos. Right here at 10 a.m., best chance for an isolated rain shower that's really going to stay right along coastal Collier County. So from Marco up to Naples, even touching parts of Bonita Beach, just a heads up, especially heading into the first half of tomorrow. That's where we have the best chance south of the Caloosahatchee River, basically Estero Island southward toward Little and Big Hickory, including Vanderbilt Beach, including Bonita Beach, heading into the morning and the early afternoon. This is around 3 p.m. Meanwhile, Cape Coral, say Pine Island, stretching up to Charlotte County into DeSoto, Glades, Hendry will be on the drier side at that point. Then heading into the afternoon, some of those probabilities will be going up just a bit closer toward that lake. So later in the day, heads up farther inland as those rains begin to shift. Your beach forecast for tomorrow, Boca Grande, Captiva looking for highs in the mid 80s with a partly cloudy sky. Sanibel hitting a high around 86. And then again, the best chance for those scattered rain showers for Naples and Marco Island, where those high temperatures are expected to run in the mid to upper 80s. For tonight, partly cloudy skies as we drop down to 73 degrees. For tomorrow, again, those scattered rain areas in the mix, 89 degrees is where we're headed. And then we'll pull back those rain chances just a bit as we head into your Thursday. Likewise, Saturday, Sunday, just a few storms are expected.
Thank you, Katie. $80 million raised to re-elect DeSantis as governor is now going to his campaign for president. Why one watchdog group is following the money and how it could lead for problems for DeSantis down the road.
Roughly $80 million left over from Governor Ron DeSantis' reelection campaign last year is now helping to underwrite his 2024 presidential campaign.
So an official with the Ron DeSantis super PAC, Never Back Down, confirmed it had received the funds, but a third-party watchdog group is now taking issue with that transfer.
The PAC will now use the money to help DeSantis try to capture early support in those caucus and primary states at the start of the calendar next year. But the Campaign Legal Center fired a complaint with the Federal Election Commission last week, alleging moving the money from a state campaign PAC to the federal level violates election finance laws. The person overseeing those leftover state funds, State Senator Blaise Ingoglia, recently told Fox 4 the money would get used to bolster parental rights.
The goal of the PAC is to support candidates that believe in empowering parents in parental rights, and those candidates that are fighting for that. The only thing that we can do with it is back state candidates or anybody under that falls under state elections. So that's your local school board, county commissioner, legislative office.
So the state senator has yet to respond to requests for comment on the transfer of these funds. CLC, meanwhile, warns that it could take months, even years, for the FEC to even resolve this complaint. Now, the governor, meanwhile, is focusing on his next presidential campaign stops. He will be in Greensboro, North Carolina on Friday for the Republican Party state convention there. And then he's making a stop in Tulsa, Oklahoma to headline his super PAC-supported Never Back Down event. DeSantis has already previously made stops in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina.
The dance floor in the Republican field is picking up quickly. Another well-known face joining the fray. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie announces that he's in for the nomination. He announced this at an event at St. Anselm's College in New Hampshire after filing the formal paperwork with the Federal Elections Commission earlier in the day. And Christie first ran for the nomination back in 2016, but he dropped out after picking up 6th place in New Hampshire. More migrants land in California, but with no real place to go. And for the first time, the state is confirming the flights came from Florida.
This while the governor is staying silent on this issue. What we're learning about these flights tonight. Also, a federal judge has temporarily blocked Florida's ban on gender dysphoria treatments for minors. Why the filing may only help a select few, though, coming up.
Before his presidential campaign launch, Governor Ron DeSantis was vocal about Florida's migrant flights.
Yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures.
But now he's not commenting on a recent flight to California. Why political experts believe he's now staying silent as Fox 4 News at 10 continues.
Live from Southwest Florida, this is Fox 4 News at 10.
Thanks for staying with us. So the state of Florida is now breaking its silence about 2 recent migrant flights to California. In an email on Tuesday evening, a spokesperson from the Florida Division of Emergency Management says that the migrants flown to California wanted to go there and gave verbal and written consent. The department emphasizing in a statement its migrant relocation program is voluntary.
Meanwhile, Governor Ron DeSantis himself, though, is not talking publicly about the recent events. Fox 4 Investigates' Katie LeGrone takes a latest look at the investigation into these flights and also how the governor's silence might be saying a lot.
In what was his first state press conference since announcing his presidential launch, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis took no questions, offered no comment.
All right, guys, we'll be back soon.
Staying unusually silent about the latest national headlines that have his name written all over them. Since Friday, about 36 asylum-seeking migrants have arrived unannounced in California. According to California's Attorney General, the migrants, mostly men, were promised jobs and housing before, he said, they were lured from Texas onto private jets that ultimately landed in Sacramento. And with them, the AG says, documents indicating their chartered travel was arranged by Florida's Division of Emergency Management, the executor for Florida's controversial multi-million-dollar migrant relocation program.
Not one of these migrants is from Florida. This is Governor DeSantis reaching out into another state to try to create, out of whole cloth, some political points for himself.
DeSantis neither confirming or denying Florida's involvement in the flights is a far cry from his posture nearly 1 year ago.
What would be the best is for Biden to do his damn job and secure the border.
When he slammed Joe Biden for open border policies and proudly took credit for using state taxpayer money to fly dozens of Venezuelan men, women, and children from Texas to Martha's Vineyard as part of a political symbol to sanctuary cities and blue states.
Yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures.
Those flights prompted a number of legal challenges, including an ongoing civil rights lawsuit. On Monday, a Texas county sheriff also announced he's now recommending criminal charges. Now, California leaders, along with several legal and migrant advocacy groups, are calling for similar action after these California flights. DeSantis and his administration have yet to publicly talk about.
Is there a political strategy to silence?
Well, as we know from Governor Ron DeSantis, everything he does has a political strategy, especially now that he's a full-blown candidate for president. The very fact that Ron DeSantis is being silent about it now may be that politically he's having second thoughts, or he's just waiting for a strategic moment to say, I did it, I like it, and I'm going to do it again.
And one possible place he could start talking about these California flights, Texas, where he's expected to head Wednesday, staying through the week as part of a fundraising tour. I'm Katie LeGrone reporting.
The number of daily migrant encounters along the U.S.-Mexico border has been low since Title 42 ended. According to the Department of Homeland Security, Border Patrol saw about 3,400 migrants each day since May the 12th. That's much lower than the roughly 10,000 daily encounters before Title 42 lifted. This as Governor DeSantis says Florida troops that he sent to the border have made contact with more than 5,800 undocumented migrants and helped Texas with more than 190 arrests so far.
Well, tonight, the country's largest gay rights organization has declared a state of emergency for the first time in its 40-plus year history. This warning does come from the Human Rights Campaign tonight in response to threats, violence, homophobia, and transphobia across the U.S. And it comes just days into Pride Month. The American Civil Liberties Union says state legislatures introduced more than 400 anti-LGBTQ plus bills in the first quarter of this year. That is a new record and a higher total than all of last year.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked Florida's ban on gender dysphoria treatments for minors, ruling that gender identity is real and that the state has no rational basis for denying patients treatment. The judge issued a preliminary injunction saying 3 transgender children can keep receiving treatment. Although the ruling focuses on those 3, a lawyer for the Southern Legal Council representing the plaintiff said they hope healthcare providers see the ruling as applying statewide. But the governor's office said that it will continue to enforce the law for everyone except for the 3 children.
Moving forward, we're looking at all the different options as to how to ensure the broadest possible relief, not just for our plaintiffs, not just for minors, but for all trans folks in the state of Florida.
Florida is among 19 states that have enacted laws restricting or banning treatments like puberty blockers.
Now, the laws placing restrictions on the LGBTQ plus community are having an impact on people living here in Florida. Eric Waxler with our Scripps station WFTX in Tampa spoke with members of the trans community who say that while these laws are geared towards children specifically, the impact reaches many more people.
This is what me and my children refer to as the escape pod.
Kaylee Karen is packing up this RV and getting set to leave Florida with her 2 children after living in Pinellas County for close to 20 years.
Would I think I'd be leaving? No. Do I want to leave? No. Do I think it's the right thing to do? Yes.
Kaylee says it's the right thing to do because of new laws signed by Governor Ron DeSantis. Some of those laws are focused on gender-affirming care.
Ultimately, I'd rather get out while it's still safe to do so and it's easy enough to do so.
The transgender community is in a spiral. It is very sad to see what's happening.
Dr. Bob Wallace says he is one of very few physicians in the area willing to still treat transgender patients. He says many clinics are trying to figure out how to operate under new regulations. Nurse practitioners can no longer prescribe hormones, and patients are required to sign informed consent forms. Doctors and pharmacists are also allowed in recently passed laws to refuse to treat transgender people.
We're afraid of backlash. We don't know what will happen from some of the crazy community members that we have here, but we care about everybody.
The governor and many other Republican lawmakers have been outspoken on the new restrictions involving transgender people, but much of their focus has involved children.
We need to let our kids just be kids. And we have a very crazy age that we live in.
You're allowed to be stupid in this country. So there's no desire to stop this for adults. Children, it's a whole different story. You can't get a tattoo. You shouldn't be able to cut your breasts off.
The trans community is an easy target because it's the most misunderstood.
Tristan Burns is transgender and also a therapist who helps others. He says another new law causing confusion and fear involves bathrooms in government buildings. The law says someone can be charged with a misdemeanor trespassing offense if they use bathrooms that don't align with their gender at birth.
The men are more comfortable with me in the men's bathroom than the women would ever be in the women's bathroom. So what bathroom am I supposed to go into? By law, in a government building, I'm supposed to walk into the women's room. It doesn't make any sense.
Meanwhile, Kaylee is making final plans to leave the state, but she's not sure just yet where her family will end up.
I'm leaving just about everything I have because this is scary.
Florida has new data privacy protections to shield users from the collection of their online information, but this could come at a cost to small business.
Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders is taking a look following the governor's signing of what he's calling the Digital Bill of Rights.
If you need a photographer who can shoot underwater, perhaps you've used Kimber Greenwood with Water Bear Photography, a small business she operates out of Gainesville.
I never have a day where I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to work today. I love what I do, and I get to go to some of the most beautiful places on this planet.
But Kimber worries she may soon have trouble reaching prospective customers.
All right, so here it is.
All because of Florida's Digital Bill of Rights. The new law allows users to opt out of data collection by online platforms. That may sound great, but nonprofits, local governments, and many, many small businesses like Kimber's use that data to create targeted ads for cheap. Instead of paying around $15,000 for an ad campaign on something like Hulu, about $5,000 a month covers sites like Facebook or Google, touching people interested in scuba diving and photography.
I just want to know, are you interested in what I have to offer? And would you find my ads more interesting than, say, for a pair of dentures or home improvement products?
Even so, SB 262 had a lot of support in the legislature, Only 2 no votes from lawmakers.
This is huge, folks.
Its champions say the law is a crackdown on big tech, noting it does a lot more than just opt-outs.
This empowers Floridians. You are not just going to be at the mercy of Big Brother, kind of looking over everything you do and collecting all the information about you.
Other provisions include requiring platforms offer users better control of what's collected, whether that's through access to it or the power to delete it. Plus, online games and products targeting kids prohibited from taking, sharing, or selling their info.
So now if they can't find me, I really do worry about the effect that it's going to have on my industry.
Kimber, meanwhile, waits and wonders what this will mean for her small business when that new law comes into effect July 1st of this year. At the Capitol, I'm Forrest Saunders, Fox 4.
The governor also signing an expanded slow down, move over bill. I'm grimacing while watching this because we've seen so many of these crashes. It means that drivers will not have to move over for any broken down vehicle on the side of the road, not just first responders. Anyone who violates the law could get a citation and have to pay a fine of up to $158. This new law will take effect on January 1st of next year. We have seen way too many of these crashes here in Florida. Well, coming up, the nation's latest mass shooting happening tonight at a graduation ceremony in Richmond, Virginia. What we are learning from the scene tonight.
And also one big part with golf. And this is a huge deal, especially with all the golf influence we see in Southwest Florida. The PGA Tour decides to end its rift with the Saudi-backed Live Golf tournament. And that tour, as those two, they're not going to call it a merger, but they're ending their hostilities on the links.
Time for a check on the tropics. Everything nice and quiet in the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean, most of the Atlantic. Just one wave of energy here in the northeastern Atlantic between the Azores and the Canary Islands. 10% probability of further development, not a threat to the U.S. We'll take a look, though, at when storms will be affecting our weather coming up next.
Developing across the nation, this from Richmond, Virginia. 7 people shot outside of a high school graduation ceremony. We're checking to see if anyone died from this. Police say they have at least 2 in custody. Richmond police say gunfire came from across the street from the graduation ceremony on the Virginia Commonwealth University campus. As now we're just hearing and confirming from the AP, at least 2 dead from this, and they note it happened after the ceremony ended while graduates were outside taking pictures with families. More updates as we confirm more details.
Yeah, absolutely horrible. Also, federal investigators are looking into hypoxia as a potential factor in the deadly plane crash in Virginia on Sunday. This killing 4 people aboard and sent F-16s scrambling. So hypoxia is potentially a deadly condition that's caused by lack of oxygen. The National Transportation Safety Board is sifting through the wreckage to figure out why the pilot became unresponsive and what caused the plane to veer off course. It even prompted again the deployment of 6 fighter jets that flew near Washington, D.C. before eventually that plane crashed into a wooded area near Waynesboro, Virginia. The plane had taken off from Tennessee and was meant to land in East Hampton, New York.
The rescue phase for that collapsed apartment building you see here in Davenport, Iowa is now over. Crews pulled the bodies of 3 men out over the weekend. A week after the building broke apart back on May 28th, firefighters called the search extremely dangerous, saying that each time rescuers went inside, the building would shift, and they felt that they could have been crushed at any second. There is a lawsuit now filed against the building's owner as well as the city, claiming the owner tried painting over cracked walls to hide structural damage. And what a year of drama in golf, and now it appears the sport is finally back to some stability as the chaos might be ending. The PGA Tour and the LIV Golf reached an agreement today. Now, they're not going to call this a merger, but both sides agreed to end the legal action and the jousting against the other. It was back a year ago in June. The Saudi-based LIV Tour signed many of the top golfers. And so those golfers got more money and less work to play, or less work to keep playing each weekend, only 3 rounds instead of 4. But the LIV players were also banned from competing in PGA Tour events. The PGA Tour commissioner said the LIV Golf 2023 calendar would continue as planned. Ford is recalling about 125,000 newer model SUVs and trucks because the engines could leak and catch fire. All are hybrid or plug-in hybrid versions, and these include the Ford Escape, some Maverick pickup, and Lincoln Corsair SUVs. The 3 models all have similar engineering, where the gas engine has the leak, but because they also have electric motors, a driver could keep operating it even if the gas engine has failed. So it's a concern. All of the models are in the recall are model years 2020 and newer.
And if you are in the market for a new car, Edmunds.com says the average price for a new car right now is up 24% in the last 3 years to now nearly $48,000. That is a lot of money. And if that has been keeping you from buying a new car and wanting to keep on to your old car, you are not alone. It does mean, though, you might have trouble at the repair shop. So with more people opting to keep their old car, S&P Global Mobility says that means that the average age of a sedan on American roads right now is 13.6 years. This means that more cars will inevitably end up at the repair shops. And mechanics across Southwest Florida say you will have to wait at least a week, maybe even 2, to just get your car looked at.
We're super busy, about 2 weeks behind right now. We're doing the best that we can to get them in, get them fixed, and get them back to our customers as quickly as possible.
Another reason why it's going to take longer to get your car in working order, Southwest Florida repair shops are still dealing with a shortage of workers.
And we're definitely seeing this right now. For Fox 4 News at 5 or 6, when we interview people, you often see them being talked to under the sun. And then at night, you'll see them being talked to under awnings at stores or some of those piers like we saw for Naples, because that rain has been hitting consistently in the afternoon.
And you'll never know where it's going to come, but chances are it's coming at some point as we bring in certified meteorologist Katie Walls. As we said, I got stuck in a sun shower today. I didn't even see the clouds.
Exactly. It could be one of those things where you see a rainbow, but then you're also dealing with a downpour, and that's just the nature of the storms this time of year. Bottom line, after 2 p.m. each and every day, just want to make sure that you stay weather aware. Thankfully, radar is quieting down, and those clouds are starting to clear out as we take a live look outside right now from the Fox 4 studios. Notice just a couple of fair weather cumulus clouds lingering, but they too will continue continue to clear out. The only spot where we do have a rain shower right now, well, it's now done. Here in the last 15 minutes, notice this little shower over Inglewood and down toward Rotunda, nice and quiet. So temperatures outside, 76 degrees. Dew point, the measure of moisture in the air, sitting in the lower 70s, causing it to feel just a degree warmer. Winds are currently out of the southeast at 5 miles per hour. Before those showers and storms fired up, we hit highs of 89. Of course, it felt much hotter out there because of that humidity. The higher the humidity, the worse the heat index is. So that 89 felt more like 94 to 95 across southwest Florida. Fort Myers, Naples, Punta Gorda all hit 89 degrees, meaning those records are safe. Looking ahead to tomorrow, could see an isolated shower or storm as early as 7 a.m. in Lee and Collier County. And honestly, I think the best chance for rain tomorrow, especially the first half of the day, will really be concentrated in in Collier County. This right here from Naples down to Marco Island, this has consistently been where most of our storms are developing with our different model runs. Even heading into the afternoon, notice right here at 3 o'clock, Collier County into Hendry as well as Glades. That's not to say we couldn't see an isolated shower or storm elsewhere, but just to point out, especially Collier, Glades into Hendry, just a heads up, you all have the best probability of seeing a little bit of something on the radar for tomorrow. Meanwhile, coastal communities for Lee County stretching up toward coastal Charlotte should be just fine. So if perhaps you want to celebrate the end of the school year, it looks like a lot of beaches actually will stay on the quiet side for coastal Sarasota, coastal Charlotte, as well as coastal Lee. Now let's look ahead to your Thursday morning. Likewise, with that onshore flow, could see a couple of showers for the morning time frame, but once those winds pick up out of the west for the afternoon, that will force the activity farther inland. So for your Thursday morning, again, could see a couple of rain showers, but by the afternoon, they stay inland. And conditions along the beach then are nice and quiet. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies will start off tomorrow morning around 73 degrees. Scattered showers and storms in the mix tomorrow, especially in Collier, Glades, and Hendry. That's where we have the best probabilities for tomorrow afternoon. And that 7-day forecast showing off a few spotty storms expected for your Thursday, and likewise just isolated rain chances in the mix looking ahead to the weekend.
Ahead on Fox 4 News at 11, Lee County leaders already taking action to find a replacement for County Manager Roger DeJarlais, who is retiring at the end of July. A look at who they're considering for the job.
Plus, while everyone agrees they want to rebuild the Naples Pier as soon as possible, opinions differ when it comes to design. We have a look at the final 2 renderings that leaders are considering.
Lehigh Acres has about 126,000 people, and some now want to look into making Lehigh Acres its own city to try to handle the growth as well as the services, but also look at some of the main concern for opponents on this idea. That's still coming up on Fox 4 News at 11. Tonight, the Naples Pier is still only partially reopened 8 months after Ian, but tomorrow, city leaders will go over 2 design plans to rebuild the iconic pier.
The plan many told us they preferred, and we have the drawings for you as Fox 4 News at 11 starts now.
Live from Southwest Florida, this is Fox 4 News at 11.
Lee County might not have to pay a lot for moving expenses for a new county manager after current manager Roger DeSantis announced he's retiring at the end of July. Thank you for watching Fox 4 News at 11. I'm Chris Earl.
And I'm Nadine Yanis. So his resignation letter was sent less than 2 weeks after Fox 4 Investigates unveiled the result of a 7-month investigation, which showed that Lee County did not follow its own plans and procedures when calling Hurricane Ian's evacuation, which the county manager, Roger DeSantis, was in charge of.
Yet today, the County Board of Commissioners voted unanimously to potentially promote Deputy County Manager Dave Harner to the role. Harner's been with Lee County for 32 years, serving in this role for the past 4 years, and also as Assistant County Manager before that.
Many commissioners say as they continue to recover from Hurricane Ian, they wanted to hire someone who already knew our area well and not someone from outside the community.
Dave was there for every single decision along the way throughout the hurricane and has been for every single decision throughout the recovery.
It's not official yet. The chair of county commissioners and Harner still have to work out a deal, and that could get to the board on June 20th. If they do reach an agreement, Harner will take over on August 1st, the day after DeSantis retires. Lots of opinions in Naples coming from so many surveys on how to best rebuild the 135-year-old Naples pier after Hurricane Ian destroyed it, did all that damage to it. But now 2 plans are left for the council to ponder.
Yeah, we're talking about 10,000 different surveys went out for this. People shared their thoughts about 2 options, the final 2 options that will be discussed tomorrow. Fox 4's Elise Chingari spoke to these folks ahead of the meeting tomorrow morning.
We're here at the Naples Pier. As we know, it was wrecked by Hurricane Ian. You can still see this fencing here, so nobody can get access to it 8 months after Hurricane Ian. I spoke with plenty of people here along the beach today, and they tell me they want the pier back, and they were pretty vocal on how they want it to look.
The further out, the better. I think that would just be a dream come true to have that kind of ambiance out there in the water, basically.
There's 2 options on these renderings that we showed people here in Naples throughout the day. The renderings show where the pavilions will go, proposed concession areas, ramps to fishing piers. Take a look at option 1 here on the left compared to option 2 on the right, and the difference of the pavilions and proposed concession areas.
I'm going to say a mixture of both, unless it has to be that, because I like the idea of this being more protected in case another storm comes, since we saw what happened the last time.
They should make it more exciting. The dining needs to go out, 100%. When you feel like you're out in the ocean, you can look below you and see the fish, and that's what you want to be when you're a family. You want to come out here and enjoy, Naples.
Both renderings show the rebuilding of the pier 3 feet higher, adding a lower deck for fishing and options to make it more handicap accessible.
The pier is supposed to be over the water. That's where the fun is.
And with the renderings at the top of mind, many people tell me they want it back as soon as possible.
It's been long enough with no pier. There's nothing to really do except play volleyball sometimes, and it'd be nice to have a pier again.
Aside from the weather, that a lack of a pier is why it's so empty today. I mean, it's the middle of the summer. People are supposed to be having a good time, and we've got nobody. It's like Jaws is happening out here, but it's because of a pier. It's pathetic. They need to get on the renovations like ASAP.
I'm sure it'll be worth the wait.
Again, that meeting is set to take place tomorrow to have these further discussions. That meeting is set for 1 p.m. with City Council in Naples. Here at the Naples Pier, Elise Chingari, Fox 4.
And take a look at this video from one of our viewers, Andy Brown. It shows a water spout off Tiger Tail Beach on Marco Island. Andy shot this video from Hilton Marco Island Beach Resort. This happened just after 8 this evening. And we have all different kinds of water spouts here in Southwest Florida, but that was one that was specifically caused by a thunderstorm. Not all of them are actually caused by thunderstorms, believe it or not, but in this case it certainly was, and that's just the nature of these storms here for coastal Southwest Florida. It's just another reason why you always want to stay vigilant. This storm, it wasn't strong, it wasn't severe. This is a look at what it looked like between the hours of 8 to 9 o'clock as it traversed over Marco and then pushed farther north up toward Naples Pier. But overall, this storm, it was on the stronger side, but again, not technically severe, though it did produce that water spout. Certainly a sight to see. Here we go as we take a look at our radar right now across Southwest Florida. Conditions nice and quiet. quiet after a fairly damp evening for most of us here across the area. Take a look at this. Miramar Lake's receiving over 3 inches in the rain gauge. Cape Coral around 2 1/4. LaBelle just over 2 inches. Pagefield Commons reported over 1.5 inches. Golden Gate nearly 1.5 inches in the rain gauge. For Sanibel, it was close to 6/10. And El Jobin up in Charlotte County received around 1/3 of an inch in the rain gauge. Chris Earl was just asking me, are we still in deficit for the year? Believe it or not, we still need about 1 inch or so for Punta Gorda and Fort Myers. We'll talk more about when we'll see our next round of wet weather arrive coming up next.
Then, Katie, thank you. Also, a small group of people demonstrated in front of Fort Myers City Hall today, all in support of a local business owner who says her contract with the city was wrongfully terminated. Now, the Lee County NAACP was there alongside Latasha Mann, who owns Classy Chic's event and planning and catering. They say that the city hired her to serve food at Eastwood Golf Course, but in April, the city ended that contract. Mann claims that leading up to this termination, she was harassed, bullied, and racially discriminated against. She says she has filed 6 ethics complaints already, including against the director of Parks and Recreation for the city of Fort Myers, the city manager, and assistant city manager. Of course, Fox 4 reached out to the city of Fort Myers for comment on this, but they declined our request. We will follow through for you as the story has any updates.
Lehigh Acres is in unincorporated Lee County, so that means that Lee County handles repairing roads and maintaining parks, among some of the services, which do come at a cost. But there is a petition circulating right now in Lehigh that would make Lehigh Acres a city of its own. The Lehigh population has grown by more than 12,000 people since 2016. Currently, more than 126,000 people live in Lehigh Acres. And to try to keep up with that growth, some are now putting together a petition to create a Lehigh Acres city government. Supporters say it would allow Lehigh to oversee its own budget and ensure that the community's needs are truly getting met.
Many people don't necessarily understand is that, people say, oh, once we become a city, we're going to need our own police. And that's not true. Most of the things that we need, we will still be contracting through the county government.
Opponents naturally have a concern about what this could mean for property taxes, but a study still to be completed would have to figure out the tax and the cost implications. And the group Unite Lehigh is raising money to get the study done. At this time, Lee County says it has no comment on this.
Well, Marco Island's vacation rental ordinance will remain on hold now until January 2024. The city voted yesterday to get a second legal opinion now on 4 different lawsuits filed over those new rules. Now, voters approved the ordinance last August. It was originally set to go into effect this month. It would require owners to register their properties, among other strict rules. Supporters say having a registry like this would hold owners responsible for things like parking and trash. But those against the ordinance believe this is overbearing, overreaching, and unlawful. In fact, the city says the 4 plaintiffs in the lawsuit said they will not pursue the legal action if the new rules stay on pause.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked Florida's ban on gender dysphoria treatments for minors, ruling that gender identity is real and that the state has no rational basis for denying patients treatment. The judge issued a preliminary injunction saying 3 transgender children can keep getting those treatments. Although the ruling focuses on those 3, a lawyer for the Southern Legal Counsel representing the plaintiffs said that they hope that healthcare providers see the ruling as applying statewide. But the governor's office also said it will keep enforcing the law for everyone except for the 3 children.
Moving forward, we're looking at all the different options as to how to ensure the broadest possible relief, not just for our plaintiffs, not just for minors, but for all trans folks in the state of Florida.
Florida is among the 19 states that have enacted laws restricting or banning treatments like puberty blockers. A state commission recommends a formal reprimand for the judge in the death penalty trial of the Parkland school shooter. And that judge, Elizabeth Scheer, did not contest the findings from the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission and agreed to the action. The commission found that Scheer appeared to favor the prosecution, including various times of scolding the defense team and also hugging prosecutors and the victims' families from that school shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School 5 years ago. About $80 million is left over from Governor Ron DeSantis' re-election campaign last year, which he won easily. And now the money is helping to pay for his presidential run.
Yeah, so an official with the Ron DeSantis super PAC, Never Back Down, confirmed today it had received these funds, but a third-party watchdog group is now taking issue with this transfer.
And the PAC will now use the money to try to help the governor capture support in those early caucus and primary states like